No worries. We were in closed session, so if I could have a motion to come out of closed.
Motion to close.
Second,
Second.
have a roll call.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Boniface?
Yes.
Committeeman Cassier?
Yes.
Committeeman Bosnick?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Can I have a motion to open it up to the public for agenda items only, please?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? If anyone has anything to talk about from the public regarding the agenda, please step forward.
On the ordinances too, or resolutions?
Sure.
In out here, Silver Street. The first one is on the, change in the amendment chapter 27. On personal policy, what are you changing?
So the hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, what, I can answer that. That's changing the hours for newly hired employees to expand the workday.
Okay. That's where they go to 35.5.
Correct.
And, sorry, Jennifer, but I have to question it. Why is there an authorized additional compensation for deputy clerk?
Yeah, you can maybe the,
Because she was given additional responsibilities for media and social media posting and maintaining our website and posting stuff on the website for us.
Was this done prior to Jennifer being here?
It was done by a mix of people, but now she's the primary person that does it.
And that back to her,
It's in her job description, so if she's ever
Job
replaced, the
description.
person will have that same.
Okay. I know we all had jobs in our lives, at least most of us have, and we kept getting additional work. I'm sure Liz gets more work all the time. I don't know why all of a sudden we're getting additional benefits over their increase of last year, already in January. Remember, we had tight money here. We had to bring that to spending. We've already applying for tax.
We,
Yes.
for, the amount is what, $500? For additional work of, the Facebook, maintenance, social media. She's been out at events taking pictures as well.
Managing the meetings.
Right, well, we also should go back to your work hours here. 9 to what, 9 to 4, an hour for lunch, except for new hires. You know you're gonna get a flat from new hires when they see that your old people and grandfathers. And maybe if we went to a 40-hour week, with 1 hour lunch and 35 actual working hours, she wouldn't need that additional money for everybody else. You'd have time to do all your work, and you'd be given on time as it should be. These people really have it made that are working here. 30 hours of actual work. I know it's a job, but nobody really loves their job that much. You know, they'd like to have a 25-hour work week probably. And I'm not taking that on any personal person because I bother a lot of you anyway. And Patrolman John Cassidy, what was his termination fee?
It's on the,
Yeah, 107,000.
107?
900 something, I think.
107
107?
and change.
And what's his total with his unpaid and all that?
That's it,
That includes everything,
That's everything.
termination,
everything.
unused sick,
Everything.
vacation,
Everything.
I know I have one more, I gotta find it. The transfers within the 2019 budget, was any of that for transferring for salaries or, no, only for other uses?
It was, what was the, I don't remember. Was it electric? Was it electric? There's two transfers, right?
Yeah, for recycling and electricity. And for 17, that wasn't any salary, right, Bob?
No,
What is that?
You need a copy?
You want me to pass it down?
so I know what the two last one, but that's, I spoke with with him today, and that's just to cover those. So, it says right here, it's under operating.
With the.
Recycling was operating, and then electric was electric.
It was electric.
Overall municipal for certain departments.
Pardon me?
Which department?
Recycling.
Recycling was $12,000, and that was on the that's for operating. And, like I said, electricity was another 5,000. So it was for the two transfers.
That's all the questions on the agenda, but I had a question for Dr. Hampton. For Mr. Rotolo.
Got a promotion.
Yeah. Could you interpret the sunshine law for me? What can be in closed session and what can't? I know personnel is one.
I can't interpret, it's a tough word to say, but there are certain exceptions. Certain things can be discussed in private. There's a list of them in the Public Meetings Act. Personnel, negotiations, purchase and sale of real estate, issues that, pending litigation, issues that could compromise public safety. There's probably a few more.
I'm looking for the closed session.
I'm sorry.
I'm looking for the closed.
Yeah, there's a list of them in the statute. Basically, all business has to be conducted in public with the exception of these enumerated exceptions.
So when you said real estate, that's covering you for 120? All these closed
No,
sessions for
no,
120?
no, it would only be if you go, like, when the Tyson House, for example, most of that was done in public, but if there was going to be a negotiation of a sale of property, the 120 wouldn't fall under that exception. I mean, there may be certain things discussed regarding 120 that could be done in closed session because there was litigation involved. There was, some other, I don't know, I can't think of anything else, but there was litigation involved. So if it was a discussion regarding the litigation, could conceivably be done in closed.
Because Damon and Floods are very concerned about that whole parcel over there.
That would be a public set, that would, any discussions on
Right,
that.
but I keep seeing these closed sessions for 120. And I think the public should be aware of what you're going to discuss, and why we can't have it as an open.
Almost everything is discussed. There are certain, again, litigation items that are discussed in closed session. And I can't think of what else recently.
Also, the closed session for later on has been
Oh,
canceled.
that's been
I'm
canceled.
talking every work session is probably something about 120 usually.
Right, but there is no closed session on 120.
No, not tonight, but you're saying in the past there were, yeah.
I just want to know why they're all closed to us. And I know, I knew of some that were covered, you can't have those sessions on. But I couldn't understand why, that's taxpayer money over there that you're negotiating with and everything.
But you should also be aware that at subsequent meetings, we always release the minutes from those meetings, and there's always a resolution describing what was discussed, so in general terms, but
Okay, are those closed sessions recorded?
no.
So it's
no.
by memory. And
Well-
who types up those minutes?
I do. I mean, I prepare them, and it's, it's adopted in a resolution.
That's all, maybe I'll be back later.
Thank you. What else?
Diane Castle, 40 cards. On 120, later on the agenda, it says discussion about it, will that be open to the public at that time?
We were open, we started at 6 for some interviews, so we redid the agenda, we took that off,
Oh,
both for the public portion as well as the closed session. And I'll make an announcement about that.
okay, so if people had questions or comments to make, they should hold.
We're working on setting up a special meeting for that now.
Just for that.
Yeah, and it'll be soon, it's gonna be soon.
And that'll be announced
I'm
on
gonna, I
the
could,
webpage or whatever?
no, yeah, well, we have to finalize it, but we're looking at this, the 12th, Monday, it's Monday?
No, it's
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
it's a
No,
Tuesday.
it's our Wednesday.
Oh, right, it's Wednesday the
Work
12th,
session
6
starts
o'clock.
at 6.
I would start before.
1:20.
Because I was gonna ask, same as Lynn did, you're saying it's not usually in closed session, but even though you took it off, it was written.
Well, it was, well,
I just wanted-
why we did that was because we were gonna have the public portion first,
Right.
and then based on some of the feedback that we received, we were gonna go into closed session and discuss amongst ourselves, or what's our about the program and so.
But isn't that based on what Mr. Rotolo just said? If it's not a negotiated item or a legal issue, then why would you?
No, there's a limited aspect of the negotiation of the pilot that we can hear in closed session, but then when it comes out here, it's voted on in public, so that's, because there's proprietary and confidential information involves negotiation, and very
Even
limited
without the people
aspects.
being here from that program?
No, they wouldn't, no, not from the developer, it would just be our economist and our
Yeah, who
outside.
was here.
We're trying to have the engineer and the flood
Who was-
manager here as well to answer.
Who was very much promoting the program. It seemed like he was very one-sided, even though he said he wasn't, but. Okay, so there's no discussion on it until whatever you're gonna have this meeting?
We're shooting for the 12th
Okay, thank you.
at 6 o'clock.
I just want to be clear, is this the time you talk about other things, like I have some issues, I see at the end of the agenda, it says public portion?
If what you have to ask is not on the agenda or one of the items, then it would be at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, I'll just, since I don't even know what the agenda is.
Why don't
You
you?
can take it out.
I know, but I'm like, what are we talking about? Sorry. This is like my fourth time coming to these things.
Welcome.
Hopefully not my last. I'm just gonna talk about like flooding issues, so I don't see anything on here about flooding, so I'll be back, thank you.
Motion to close, public portion.
I'll make that motion.
Second, please.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. I would like to ask Mr. Rotolo to come down and swear in our library members, our library board members. Sam, Mary Ellen, Laura.
How are you? Where we go? Good, so, I'm going to read off the oath that you probably heard me do and others do before. I'm going to state your name and then just repeat after me, okay? Usually put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, so there you go. Perfect. All right. It's library, it's a full 5-year term, library trustee. All right, so I, and state your name,
I, Mary Ellen,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties of library board trustee
all of the duties of library board
for the township of Rochelle Park,
for the township of Rochelle Park,
according to the laws of the township,
according to the laws of the township,
the state of New Jersey,
state of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the United States of America,
and the Constitution of the United States of America,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard. Mr. Kelly. An update from our engineer.
Hi, good evening. First, I'd like to thank the mayor and township committee for their confidence in us and appointing us as a township engineer for 2020. I look forward to a very productive year. The only item on our agenda is our written status report. You should have a copy of our status report, last revised January 24th, 2020. For ROP 101, that's the Rochelle Ave and Railroad Ave intersection project. The former township engineer has updated and completed the final taking maps. They've been submitted to the county and have been reviewed and approved by the county. And we're in the process of scheduling our final meeting with the property owners for those easements. We are still waiting for the county for the signage and striping plan. Once we have that, we'll have our plans completed within 2 weeks after receiving that. This has taken some time to get a response from the county. I had a discussion with the administrator last week. We recommended that they reach out to the county executive to move this along. The administrator did submit an email to the county. We got a response saying that they've talked to the engineer and we're expecting a response from him. So we'll be in contact with administration on that. For ROP 102, that's the Sprout Brook stream cleaning. We've made the final revisions to the plans. Based on our final revisions, it's resulted in a significant cost savings to the township. We expect to have our application submitted to DEP on Friday. Once we get that approval, we will then be in a position to go out to bid for that work, and we're hoping that that'll be done this year. But based on our evaluation, we felt that some of the outfalls that had to be repaired, some of them were not in need of repair, so we reduced some of the scope on that end. Nothing involving any of the stream cleaning, that all remains the same. For ROP 163, that's the 2020 road curb and sidewalk program. We're currently working on the design for that. This is Marina Street and Madison Ave. We expect the design to be submitted to DOT for their review within about a month, by March 1st. One thing I want to review with the township committee is we're replacing all the curbs on Madison Ave. As you know, Madison Ave, the curbs on Madison Ave vary in height. You have some that are, some there's no curb, some there's an inch curb, some of the curbs 6 inches. And what the town, from discussing with the administrator, we've been told that we want to have a 6-inch curb face uniform throughout the roadway. An issue you run into with that is if you have an area where you only have an inch curb height, or the current curb height is only an inch, if you go to put in a 6-inch curb height, now you have the chance or the likelihood that you're going to impound water from behind the curb, where it all drained out over the curb and into the street. Now you're raising it up, you're creating a swale or an area where you can't get the water out to the road. I've taken a close look at it. I think we can increase the curb height significantly throughout the roadway. I don't know if we're going to meet the 6 inches, but in an area where you may have an inch curb height, we may be able to increase that to 3 inches or so, which that'll be a benefit. We didn't see any areas where, by adding curb, if there was no curb there, we didn't see any areas where we would create a drainage problem in the roadway. There's no areas where the water is running off the road into people's properties. Now, if we put in a curb, a curb in that area.
Are those, where there's no curbs, is that the areas that you think it may be 3 inches or so?
Yeah,
Or-
yes, yeah. So you'll see in those areas, the area behind the curb or behind the street goes up a little bit in some areas. So we'll go up to the maximum height we can. If we can go up to 6 inches, we'll get up to 6 inches. But I just want to make sure that we're clear on what's expected on this roadway. We did look at, because we were informed that the road has been resurfaced a number of years, and they just keep adding 2 inches, and that's the reason you only have an inch curb height. We went out there, we had cores done, we had the roadway cord, and it looked like, based on the core results that we got, the maximum depth of asphalt is only about 4 inches. So there's not an area where we have 8 inches of asphalt where we can mill it down 6 inches and then put 2 inches of asphalt back and then meet that 6-inch curb height. If we were to reconstruct the road, it's it's a big number in terms of construction costs. It's not something we want to do. We were hoping that we would have, 8 inches of asphalt, we just overmill it and then just put back 2 inches. But the maximum depth of asphalt was only about 4 inches. So you can't go down to 4 inches because then you're down into the sub base, into the stone. So you still need to maintain at least like 2 inches of asphalt to go 2 inches over. So I think it's going to look nice. I don't think it's going to be noticeable that, the curb heights are going to differ because it's going to go with the natural grade of the road. Right now, the road, if we start trying to go down deeper and then create a 6-inch curb height, the road wouldn't be level. So we're going to keep a level road. You'll have some areas where you have 6-inch curb height. Typically, at a driveway, it's going to go down to 1.5 inches, then it goes back up. So it's not, vertically, you can differ with the road, with the curb heights. Horizontally, you can't. You got to keep the road, the curb straight. We're not going to be able to meander in and out. We're going to have it. So the road's going to look great, but we're just not going to be able to meet that 6 inches of curb face. But I think it's going to come out fine. Cost-wise, that's my recommendation. I think cost-wise, if you were to look to get down, reconstruct the road to create a 6-inch curb face, I think the number's going to be high. You're probably adding about $200,000 to the project, and I don't think it's worth it for this road.
Can I ask you a question? So the result will be of sound engineering purpose and practice, as well as financially, we're not going to get ourselves into trouble by doing a hybrid program, which is what you're recommending.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly, I know curb heights can vary on different projects. They could be 4, 5, 6. Would you, to make it a more even shoot, would you shoot for 4 inches or 5 inches instead of the 6, or the elevations vary that much?
The elevations do vary that much. You have some areas where there's 6-inch curb height out there,
Right.
and some areas where you have no curb. Where there is a little bit of an elevation behind the roadway where you can put in a nice
Right.
curb. But I wouldn't go with a 4-inch curb face the entire length and reduce the existing 6 inches. Then you're grading into people's properties. Do 6 inches where you can, and just do the maximum you can in other places.
Thank you.
And that's when you're supposed to submit that in March?
Yes.
When do you expect we hear back positively on that?
So that'll go to DOT by March 1st. They have 4 weeks to review it. So by April 1st, we expect their comments. We don't expect any major comments. And then we'll be out to bid. So figure we'll be bidding in probably mid-April, and hopefully award in May, and then construct in June and July. It's my understanding the funds are already in place.
Yes.
So as soon as we get the bids, we can award it. But we would like it to be a summer project. And then the last thing I just want to report on, the township received a letter from the New Jersey Turnpike Authority. They are going to be replacing the bridge deck on the Garden State Parkway Bridge at Paramus Road. So they're going to be replacing that bridge deck. They're also going to be doing some repairs to the piers and the abutments. It's going to involve road closures and detours, but road closures for Paramus Road. The plans that they've given us, while they indicate some of the detours that are involved, we don't have any time frames as far as how long a certain detour is going to be in place, what time of year. So we really need a lot more information. I know that this has been submitted, I believe it's been submitted to the police department.
Well, after you sent it to me yesterday, I sent it over to the chief. I actually spoke to the chief this morning, and he has a copy of it as well.
Okay.
But just so you know, the chief was not aware of this either, so.
Okay.
Do they have an expected time frame or
Yes.
time period, how long it'll take? Not so much.
Yeah, the expected timeframe that they indicated was from May. They said the project is expected to occur between May 2020 and December 2024. It doesn't really give us it's a pretty wide range there. So, we have a lot of questions. Is the project out to bid already? Do they have a contractor? We want to be invited to a pre-construction meeting. We have a lot of questions and concerns for them. So I think I just want to bring this to the township's attention. What we recommend is we'll coordinate with Mr. Davidson and the police department, put together a list of items that we want them to address. I have a rough item, one was the project schedule. We need a more detailed schedule. We can't have it's going to occur within the next 4 years. We need a start date. We need to know who the contractor is. We want to be invited to a pre-construction meeting. We need to know schedules of the detours, all these things, because it's going to affect the township. It's going to affect our EMS, our police, fire. They need to be made aware of this. Ambulance, So there's a lot of things that we need to know. What they've provided us, I consider insufficient. So we'll be I'll coordinate with the township, and we'll send that letter to them. We need more information. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that within the next 4 years, this project's going to be going on.
Thank you. Just with that project, engineering wise, are they widening the roadway at all underneath the overpass? So it's a 1-for-1 replacement?
Yes. Yep. It's in kind.
Okay, and is that something that we need to be concerned with long term? Do they not care? Is it not our concern to be worried about?
I think if we have worries, we can bring it to their attention. I'm not aware of that area on Paramus Road being a bottleneck. The signal may back up traffic there, but I'm not aware of the clearances or the width underneath the bridge being in a condition where it's creating issues for the township or Paramus. But the signal might be. But I think if we have concerns, we should raise that to them as well.
And the pedestrian access across that or underneath that bridge is going to be addressed and at least maintained. It's a unique situation. I think there's an elevated walkway that travels underneath that bridge.
Okay.
So please just, if you can, take a look at that as well.
I will.
Thanks.
Any other questions up here?
One more.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly, Marina Street,
Yes,
that's not going in with the Madison bid, is
it
it?
is.
Oh, it is, so
Yes.
it's 2 roads getting done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The road that's not is Oldest,
Oldest.
because we're not in contract with DOT yet. So we didn't want that to hold up the project.
No,
So
I'm
that'll
fine
be,
with that.
That'll be the next project.
Sounds good.
Any other questions up here?
Mr. Kelly, I saw in the status update, it mentioned the bridge replacements at Central Ave and the train trestles.
Yes, yep.
The thing that was a little unsettling was it said 5 to 7 years just to get the design
Yes.
done. Is that bridge traveling underneath that bridge at Central Ave, is that secured from underneath? Because I think 5 to 7 years just to wait for them to finish design. I've heard someone tell me before that some chunks have fallen on some chunks of cement or concrete have fallen from underneath that in the past.
Okay.
So have they inspected that at all to secure that, to make sure that that'll last 5 to 7 years and not falling on somebody walking or driving underneath there?
Based on our last discussion with them, it was their anticipation that it would last, that there were no emergency repairs required at this time. I'm not aware of any portions of the concrete falling down. If that's the case, and if you can let me know, and
Oh, sure, absolutely.
we'll reach out to them.
My understanding is I read an article somewhere, I forget where it was now, but they're actually going to be doing repaving Route 17 again.
Okay.
And going through Rochelle Park. I
Okay.
picked up on that. So I kind of find it surprised that they're going to do that, but.
Yeah.
Could be added weight on the structure.
Usually don't pay on the bridges.
Well, that bridge has to be paved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, because it's not concrete, it's a paved bridge.
Any other questions up here? Any questions from the audience for Mr. Kelly? Thanks for coming tonight.
No problem. You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
It's my understanding I'll be back on the 12th as well.
Yes, yes, we appreciate it.
Great, no problem.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Bye.
I skipped over the approval for the minutes for the sign down, so if I could have a motion to approve the minutes for the sign down meeting and reorganization meeting held on January 4th, 2020, as well as the special meeting held on January 14th, 2020.
The minutes said, there was a third amendment that said mayor made various appointments. Oh, what was that? This was just that. I heard that.
I mean, you're making the motion.
Sorry. Yeah.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. We have a proclamation tonight in support of the celebration of the 100th anniversary of the women's suffrage. I'd like to ask Committeewoman Bartola and Committeewoman Monfils to step down and please read it.
You want to start?
Sure, you want it, I think you can do it again.
Yeah, I'm not that big.
Okay.
Fine, go, just go, yeah.
Okay. Support for the celebration of the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage. Whereas the year 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, guaranteeing and protecting women's rights to vote. And
Whereas this centennial offers an opportunity to commemorate a milestone of democracy, that the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by federal or state government on account of gender. And
whereas New Jersey has had a long storied history in the suffrage movement, with New Jersey women playing a crucial role in pursuing the rights of women to vote. And
whereas in 1667, New Jersey residents Lucy Stone and Harry Blackwell organized the New Jersey Women's Suffrage Association, devoted to gaining women's suffrage. Did I skip?
yeah, I'll go back. Whereas in 1776, women's property owners were enfranchised under the New Jersey State Constitution, which was unique in the nation at the time. However, in 1807, the New Jersey legislature eliminated the property requirement for voting rights and limited the ballot to white males. And
I got it, yeah. Whereas in 1909, New Jersey's first open suffrage rallies were held in Orange and Newark, led by Dr. Emma O. Gantz and Martha, it's a name I cannot even pronounce. Yeah, collecting 5,000 signatures for a petition in support of the federal amendment guaranteeing and protecting women's constitutional right to vote.
And whereas, although in 1912, state referendum on women's suffrage was soundly defeated in the New Jersey legislature, a corner was turned for the New Jersey suffrage movement.
And whereas in 1913, an automobile rally led by General Rosie Jones traveled through New Jersey on the way to Washington, D.C. in a suffrage parade of over 8,000 marchers with many New Jersey women, including event organizer Alice Paul. And
whereas in 1915, a second suffrage constitutional referendum was pursued in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts, with active campaigns by many suffrage organizations, including passing of the Torch of Liberty via tugboats on the Hudson River from New York to New Jersey, but was defeated in all 4 states October 1915. And
whereas in 1917, New Jersey suffragists Allison Turnbull Hopkins, Julia Herbert, Beatrice Reynolds Kincaid, and Minnie D. Abbott picketed in front of the White House as part of Silent Sentinel and subsequently were arrested and imprisoned. And
whereas on June 4th, 1919, Congress passed the 19th Amendment, guaranteeing all American women the right to vote. And
whereas on February 9th, 1920, New Jersey became the 29th state to ratify the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote. And
whereas shortly after the ratification of the 19th Amendment, Margaret Laird and Jenny Van Ness were the first 2 women elected to the New Jersey Assembly in 1921 and 1925, Rebecca Estelle Bourgeois Winston of Estelle Manor was New Jersey's first woman mayor.
Now, therefore, it be resolved, in honor of the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, the Township of Rochelle Park will light the gazebo on the municipal grounds with purple lights, one of the colors of the New Jersey suffrage movement, for the week of February 10th.
And be it further resolved that the Township of Rochelle Park supports the efforts of New Jersey suffrage center women vote and strongly encourages local celebrations of this historic milestone. And
Whereas today in Rochelle Park, there were 2 members of the Township Committee that are women. The first time 2 women have served on the committee together since Rochelle Park's founding in 1871.
And be it further resolved, a copy of this resolution will be forwarded to the Governor, Secretary of State, and New Jersey League of Municipalities.
I just want to say a couple words. I found this on the New Jersey League of Municipalities website, and I said, we've got to do that. I immediately downloaded it. I reached out to Gail. She was all on board. And I'm just asking the support of the men to decorate the gazebo in purple for that day, for that week. It's the whole week of February 10th. Thank you.
I also have a calendar of the centennial celebration. If anyone wants to take a look at it, there's some pictures of some of the women that we mentioned. Also, other women that have mentioned, and the actual poster of the suffrage movement for the march in Washington. So there's a lot of good history in here, a lot of information. So thank you.
I'm happy to serve with the 2 of you, so thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Reports on the agenda for the various departments are on file in the clerk's office. If you have questions,
Okay. At the work session held on January 8, 2020, the following resolutions were passed, all voting aye. Resolution 2020-34 and 2020-35, authorizing the issuance of requests for qualifications for a township planner and township redevelopment planner. The deadline for submission for those are January 31st. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and non-controversial that a township committee will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a committee member or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda as part of the general orders. Resolution 2020-36 through 2020-44, 2020-46 through 2020-49, and 2020-54 and 2020-55. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to take number 40 off of consent.
40. So may I have a motion to approve the consent
Make the
agenda?
motion.
And I'll second that.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Boniface?
Yes.
Committeeman Kazmir?
Yes.
Committeeman Vajnik?
Yes.
Mayor Lavasi?
yes.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Mark, you wanna?
Yeah, I was a little hesitant with 2020-40 because it was my understanding that funds were raised from various individuals, plus the community bank, I believe, which is now SB1 Bank. And I believe some of that money was spent. I don't know, they all ballpark of 3,000.
I asked Bob to report on this during his report, so I'm not sure if you have the specific
I
information.
should give you a general one, if you don't mind. So there was a total of $17,914 that was collected throughout the process for the house. Right now, there's, in the account, there's still there's $4,200 that's still left, okay? The rest of those monies have been spent. I had spoken to the CFO and the auditor pertaining to, how we go about moving forward with making sure that these various peoples and businesses get reimbursed. I have a list of all people who had contributed to the Tyson House at the time. I have their names and their addresses and the amount of money that they have contributed. The only ones that I do not have, there was, just so that you know, at the open house, there was a collection of $539.45. It was just general donations that was cash, so you can't really do anything with that. And then there was another 400, let me see, sorry, it was 1, 2, 3. It was 400, and I think it was $480. That was collected by the people who were running that particular event. I have the names, but at this point, I don't have the addresses for those people.
Do you have the community bank on there?
Yes, Community Bank, well, yes, Community Bank, which is now SB1, is on here, yes. So I have, like I said, I have the full list here. If this gets approved, we can move forward with, as far as making sure that everybody gets their donations back.
Because if we raise 17,000 and change, there's only 4,200 left.
Correct.
Are you refunding everybody proportionally or something, or?
Well, my understanding is what the township committee wanted, was that whatever monies they donated, that they were going to be reimbursed for those donations, and that would be coming out of the monies that was received from the sale of the house. That's my understanding.
That's the way I understood it. So even though we only have 4,000, the balance would come out of the sale proceeds. That's the way I thought we discussed it.
I support, through the chair,
Yes.
I support returning the donations to all extent possible, that we know where the donations came from and where they can be returned to. I also agree with looking for the additional addresses for the members that were, or the donations that were collected through other means. So I am in full support of returning contributions that were meant for the preservation of the house to the donors that will not be realizing that potential for the house. So I am in support of that.
Administrator Davidson, the money was spent on the house,
Correct.
correct?
That's correct.
So the money was spent as it was properly raised.
Correct.
It wasn't spent for any other means.
No, it was strictly for whatever was for the house itself.
So I don't see how it was inappropriately spent, and we would want to refund like every dollar.
I'm supportive of this resolution.
Yeah. They put the money in to try to save the house and ultimately it was.
But I
So let's
believe they
say
were
you did
misled by
say
the
this,
previous
correct?
township committee.
Right.
I feel bad for them because I believe they were really misled.
I think
I'm
it's the right thing
sorry.
to do, so.
They got no help.
Why don't the 4,200 just go to the Rochelle Park Historical Society for them to do what they want, they need to do?
The donations were meant for the Tyson House.
They were spent, the administrator just said
Yeah,
they
the
were
one
spent
who
on the
donated
Tyson House.
I'm gonna make a
$1,000.
motion,
What is that?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve this resolution. If there's anyone else that would like to second that.
They're just taking money out of the budget with this, you realize? This doesn't state amounts or anything. So this is an improper resolution itself. Doesn't have an amount, doesn't say the CFO certified the funds, it's
I have a
improper.
motion.
I have a
Incomplete
motion and a
second.
second. Can I have a roll call?
Committeewoman Otola? Yes. Committeewoman Boniface?
One comment. I just want to say that I feel bad for these people being misled and given no help by the previous township committee with this house to where it went. At least it's being saved, but I'm voting no, but there's a reason why, because I believe, they were misled. Sorry.
Committeeman Kazmir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bajnik?
No.
Mayor LaBrus?
Yes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 2020-50, resolution authorizing the appointment of a municipal public defender.
Motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor? Oh, let me do roll call.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Committeewoman Otola? Yes. Committeewoman Boniface?
No,
Committeeman Kazmir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bajnik?
Yes.
Mayor LaBrus?
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve resolution number 2020-51, a resolution authorizing the appointment of municipal architect for 2020?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Bonface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bashir?
Yes.
Mayor LaBrus?
Yes. Motion to approve resolution number 2020-52, a resolution authorizing,
Question?
yes.
I'm under the impression that this appointment has been here before. This is who the person might be kidding, is the firm, this is for the prosecutor, correct?
Prosecutor. He did serve previously as a prosecutor for, I think, like 20 years or something like that.
So we have solicited feedback and report from the building department, from all the departments that this person liaises with, correct?
No, we interviewed the candidate, and that's,
But you didn't solicit the department that actually operates with the prosecutor.
no, but we didn't do that for the public defender either.
That was a reappointment, wasn't it?
It was. So can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Bonface?
No.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bashir?
No.
Mayor LaBrus?
Yes. I have the motion to approve resolution number 2020-53, resolution authorizing the retirement agreement for Patrolman John Cassidy.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call, please.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Bonface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bashir?
Yes.
Mayor LaBrus?
Yes. I also need a motion to approve resolution 2020-56, a resolution authorizing the settlement of litigation. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
A second, please.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Bonface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bashir?
Yes.
Mayor LaBrus?
Yes. Yeah. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 2020-57, the appointment of Mike Necky for the floodplain manager?
It's not on here, and we can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry. These were, do we,
They're not on the agenda.
Yeah, the agenda was amended to include these appointments. It's not on the printed one, this was added late.
I'll speak
I can't
louder.
really hear.
I'll speak louder. So I need a motion for, to approve resolution number 2020-57, the appointment of a floodplain manager. Make a motion, anyone?
Which is Monica Mainecki. I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Bonface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bashir?
Yes.
Mayor LaBrus?
Yes. And then lastly, I need a motion to approve resolution 2020-58, labor attorney for the township, the Pisa and Lago. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Bonface?
No.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bashir?
No.
Mayor LaBrus?
Yes.
Resolutions are complete.
Bob, you have administrator's report?
Yes, you had also asked me to speak about the, as far as the county funds are concerned, as for the Tyson House.
Yes.
I did contact the enrolled reference to that whole issue, because I know that Mr. Casimir had also made comment about this. And what will happen with that is that we cannot put in for any expenses for the house since the house was sold. The other aspect is that if in fact we did pay any of those fees out of that particular grant of monies, those monies would have to be returned back to the county. So anyways, that was directly from her. And the other aspect of it is I asked her to give that to me in writing, and there's a letter that's forthcoming from her pertaining to this issue.
So just for clarification, will she be sending the grant rules as well to, or can you get a copy of the grant rules?
Sure.
That stipulate that just because the town does not have ownership of the property anymore, the monies had to be returned.
Right, because I was specifically, because I know that's part of, it has been an issue, that you brought up in the past, and I want to make sure it was clear that, that this was the way it was supposed to be, so. And like I said, it will be in writing.
Anything else?
Reference to the tree sidewalk removal, I know that we were speaking about moving forward with that, meeting with Dave Brown from the DPW pertaining to this. We also have some very good materials that I received from the arborist and Paramus. And there's some great different types of things that we could utilize. Quite frankly, what I would like to be able to do is if we can either have one or two members from the committee to meet with us to go over some of these. So this way here, we're prepared to move forward with a recommendation for the whole township committee. I think it would be definitely worthwhile doing. So if there's anybody, through the mayor, if you're willing to do that. Because like I said, I think there's some really good stuff that's in there. One of the things, quite honestly, is a letter that goes out to a resident when we are removing the tree, so that they are made aware of the fact that they, never mind having to knock on the door, or whatever, that they will receive a letter if we're taking the tree down, just as a one particular item, there are several there, so I really like that. And that's really about it. The only other thing is that next Friday, fortunately, finally, we'll be getting the new carpeting in the area next week. So our next meeting, when we do have a work session, we should be able to be in the room. So I would like to thank the DPW. You did a fabulous job painting up the building rooms, so which saved us a lot of money. So I just want to make sure I get that out as well.
Thank you. Committee reports, we'll start with you, Ms. Artola.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming here today. We have the Knights of Columbus in town. They're holding a drive for donations to go to Puerto Rico to help the victims with the earthquake. So the drive is this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I'll put the flyers out here. They're basically looking for medical supplies and personal care items. So first aid kits, hand sanitizers, mosquito repellent, rubbing alcohol are some examples of the medical supplies. For the personal care, we need diapers for children and seniors, baby hand wipes, deodorants, toothpaste, and feminine care products. So anything that you could do, please drop off donations to the Knights of Columbus this Saturday. Last week, we celebrated Martin Luther King Day, and been reading up on some of his history and his background, and what an amazing man. So I have some information here. If anyone would like some after the meeting, please come forward to see me. One of his most famous speeches for Dr. King, individual freedom depended on civic responsibility. He proclaimed, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." And I think that quote has been used a lot for him, but it's one that it's used a lot for a reason. So again, just take the time to learn about him and honor him. And lastly, this week we had International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and our Senator Menendez, worked with a resolution, and he was quoted saying, "We must work together to ensure that those horrific acts are never repeated. When we see anti-Semitism or hate in this country anywhere, leaders across the political spectrum must call out and speak out against it." That's all my reports for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Give my report on the Rochelle Park Historical Society. Met with the new owners of the Tyson House and gave them a thorough history of the property. The new owners plan to restore the interior, but don't have definitive plans yet. They're researching it, and they're going to have some follow-up meetings with members of the Historic Society to give them some guidance. The group discussed creating their own website to chronicle the town's history and leading up to the celebration of its 150th anniversary. Trip Runner has extensive research and photos of lost icons in town. During the 2020 budget discussions, I hope to request to allocate a little, small amount of funding for them to help them get their website formed, registered, etc. Their regular meetings are going to be the first Tuesday of January, April, July, and October at 6:30 p.m. The municipal court added 147 cases and disposed of 310 in December. I'm also going to give May 2019 because we got lost along the way. They had 302 cases added and 427 disposed of. The court clerk wants to remind the residents that there's no parking on the town streets nightly from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. If you need to leave your vehicle on the street overnight, you must call the police dispatch desk and give them information for that specific vehicle. During winter months, if there's a snowstorm reported, there is no parking permitted on the streets at any time, so the plows can get through it and clean up thoroughly. Please know that the court is here to assist everyone daily, so please do not hesitate to call them for any reason or inquiry. Now for my own report. It's nice to see us coming up with a formal procedure to appoint the volunteers to various boards and committees in town. I think this is the best way to give everybody a fair chance to serve their community. This policy has been missing for a while, but I'm glad to see it come under us. And I'm willing to discuss any other policies you guys want to come up with, like a tree program. I think the social media policy was something that was mentioned a while back. Any other ones you want to come up with, I'm willing to work with you on. I was able to attend the special meeting for the interviews on January 14th, but not in person. I had called into it. I wasn't sure why the public portion of that wasn't videotaped, because I thought we passed the resolution for ordinance last year to videotape all public meetings. So that, I mean, it came out of closed, it was advertised, just didn't get videotaped. The street vacation is coming up as a topic of discussion. I don't think there's a formal procedure for it here, but I've done some research and I think I found something for it, so I'll bring it to the work session.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Budget discussions are going to begin shortly, and I would like us to start thinking about how the $650,000 proceeds from the sale of the house will be used. In 2015, the Township Committee spent $625,000 of the town's capital fund on the purchase of the property, and the same year they bonded for $600,000, sending us back $1.225 million. It seems logical that we use these funds to pay down some of our existing debt before we take on new debt, which we know is coming for the townwide reassessments and redoing the tax maps. We have sewage line work that's going to have to come from expanded development in town, sidewalk replacements. I've heard discussions of adding another pump station and making upgrades to our existing pump station. I think all of these should be considered before we pledge these funds towards short-term tax relief. Finally, many of you are probably aware the new plastic bag ban has taken effect in Paramus, and it's kind of catching wide all over the state. Single-use, disposable, non-biodegradable bags have negative impacts on our environment, so I'd like to take up a resolution supporting the state ban on the single-use disposable bags. But I'll bring that to the next. I'll bring that up to the next work session.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Kazir?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Earlier this month, the mayor, the police chief, and administrator, and myself as police commissioner met to discuss the future of the police department related to the retirement of the chief and the captain. That retirement will require promotion of personnel to fill those vacancies and therefore create more vacancies from those that are promoted. With the retirement of Patrolman Cassidy, we will also need to replace a patrolman immediately. Over the next 6 months, we will need to do a lot of work to start that process to ensure a seamless transition in the police department. So as of now, we're officially announcing the upcoming searches for patrolman, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and chief. So all interested applicants should start preparing their paperwork for the upcoming positions. And the official dates and the process will be publicized very soon. The township has a policy for background checks for all volunteers. for all boards and all positions on the township. So I'd like to, well, the library board members that were appointed over the last 2 years have not been given those background checks. And I'd like to make a motion to ensure that all of those members be held to the same standard that we have for other positions. So my motion is to have all the members of all boards on the township, whether they are currently being appointed this year or have been appointed in the past, if they have not had a background check, they are required to do so within the next 90 days. So that is my motion. I hope I have a second on that. Okay.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Boniface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bajnik?
Yes.
Mayor Labasi?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I do have one other report. Next week, I will be meeting with the building department to discuss the future in that department and see where we can take that up to the next level. I know in the next 6 months to a few years from now, we will be having some additional pressure on that department. And we want to make sure that they're able to handle it as the staffing requires. So we'll come forward with some type of proposal if there's any deficiencies in what's coming forward in the future. So I appreciate the attendance tonight. It looks like we have a significant amount of people out here. So thank you very much, Mayor, and we'll see everyone next month.
Thank you. Committeewoman Boniface?
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for attending. The DPW, I want to thank the DPW crew for trying a project and succeeding at it, saving the taxpayers approximately $2,500. They were able to fix sidewalks by lifted by a tree and reset them. They themselves did the whole thing. They cut the trees down, they reset them. The one sidewalk was up about, no exaggeration, 6 inches. So I'm really proud of the crew, how they worked. They were able to do this project in a few warm days, but still encountered frost under the ground. I can see more of this done when the weather gets warmer. We have been lucky with the weather, but we are only halfway through the winter. Recycling. Rochelle Park's first shredding event is scheduled for May 9, 2020, here in the municipal parking lot from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I know it's a long way off, but I will keep reminding you. First hazardous waste collection day will be Saturday, March 7th at the Bergen County Utilities in Moonachie, or April 5th at the Bergen County Community College. Both are from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And the first tires, electronics, and mobile shredding collection will be Sunday, April 26th at Bergen Community College. This will be done from 9 to 2, rain or shine. And don't forget to keep recycling the plastic bags right here in town. We're looking to get a container for outside the municipal building to make it more convenient for residents to recycle. This recycling effort brings money back to the township in the form of a recycling tonnage grant. Recreation. To tell you the truth, I don't know what event is planned next. Being the fact the budget, they don't want to use up all the money in the beginning of the year and then be low at the end of the year. So I have a recreation meeting Tuesday night, 7:30 at Houghton Hall. I will get it posted on Facebook for the township and the township website when the next event is brought up. And for the library, February 13th, it will be my first meeting, and I'm looking forward to being the new liaison. That's all, folks.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Sorry you guys had to wait out there. We did have some interviews, both professional as well as some volunteers. So I want to, as a result of those, I'd like to appoint Katie Sarin to Recreation Committee and Yannick Frederick to the SEPA Committee. So we're happy that they all stepped forward, and we're excited to get them in the new roles. I would also like to make a motion to appoint Anthony Benny to the Rochelle Park Fire Department. Following the path blazed by his father and grandfather, Anthony is a third-generation firefighter. He moved here from Lodi in in January of 2017 and promptly joined Rochelle Park Fire Department as a junior member. Anthony attended the Fire Academy for the past 6 months, all while maintaining top grades at Bergen Academy High School in Paramus, where he takes college-level courses. In addition, he also holds a part-time job. He has been and will continue to be a great asset to the department and our community. Congratulations, Anthony. Thank you for serving Rochelle Park. The fire department responded to 26 calls in December, and the members devoted over 420 hours of non-incidental activities, including training, which was over 54 hours. On, I forget if it was Monday or Tuesday, Bob and I, or it was actually last week, Bob and I met with, along with the fire chief, met with FEMA representative and Representative Gottheimer's office to discuss the grant that we were denied this year. I believe Mayor Hauser submitted it a year and a half ago, right? And we had questions. We never, and it was really enlightening. We never even got past the initial checklist. So because of the size of the town and the number of calls, I think some of these will be a little bit out of our reach, but he did give us some good information that Bob's going to use to file for one particular grant, and we're also going to try to get neighboring towns to do a regional grant on equipment like radios where we can, get both for different departments. Elmwood Park, I know we spoke about a couple of things, but I just wanted to update you that that's something that we spoke about. We feel like we made progress, and we hope that the insight that we gained will help us secure a grant or two. We are set for a joint meeting with the Rochelle Park School Board on February 25th at Midland School at 7 p.m. And we are also, as I mentioned before, finalizing a meeting for the 12th, which is our work session. We'll start at 6 o'clock and we'll open it up for the public for the pilot program. So that's all I have. Again, sorry you had to wait so long. Hope you all have a good weekend. And I think that's it. Clerk's report.
Just one second.
Yes.
Your appointments, do any of those have to be appointed by resolution? The clerk would.
I don't know.
They're just mayor's appointments.
Yeah.
Liz?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, great.
Yeah. Okay. Clerk's report.
I have a report.
Jen,
No report.
attorney.
I don't have anything else to report, Mayor.
Great. Can I have a motion to go into public portion, please?
I need that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
David was 180 Chestnut Street. Mark, thank you very much for bringing up plastics. I really think it's important, especially for wildlife in the ocean. There's more plastic in the ocean than fishes. Anyway, a few things. The flood management, what does she actually do?
It's a good question. We got a good update tonight. We spent quite a bit of time with her. So, one of the things that she did this past year was help us to lower our rating based on a bunch of different criteria that we needed, and we were in violation. I wasn't even aware. How many indicators were there? 16 or 14? And we were.
That was the movie when she first came in. Yeah.
Right, that's part of what she did.
Yes.
To get us to where we are
As
now.
far as the elevation certificates concerned, yes.
Right.
She does the elevation certificates? Don't the homeowners do that?
No. This is when we were, this was when we were being audited by, through the NFIP. As far as that was concerned, previous records that were here on file were not, they were not properly completed. So what we need to do is we need to go backwards and have to go out and research all this, find the people who actually did these, and have them all updated. If we did not do that, go through that whole process, we would, that is like the number one criteria that we have. We would have been kicked out of the program entirely. So that was one of them, just as an example.
Yeah, and she works to implement different programs, awareness, education, that ultimately lowers our rating. And I think we did 5%. We jumped from
We went from 8 to a 7.
Went from an 8 to a 7.
Yes.
5%
So it's an additional 5%, so it's now the residents get, qualify for a 15% reduction in their flood insurance.
And moving forward, she's gonna look to bring that number from 7 to 6, although it probably won't happen this year.
Excuse me, what did you just say? That we go from 10% to 15%?
You're eligible for a 15% discount now,
Yes.
because we were able to get the number dropped from 8
Is that in effect now?
Yes,
It's in effect now.
yes.
I'll call my insurance
Yes.
company. Also, the grants that you get for flood, you were talking about the grant for flooding.
I wasn't
I
talking
don't
about,
remember a grant for flooding.
we do, I
We
mean,
work with Tetra Tech, but we didn't get enough participants to,
you're talking about for the
Not
houses?
enough houses to raise.
Oh, yeah,
You said-
yeah,
You're talking about the raising of the houses, is that what you're talking about?
I'm not sure, you said something was said about, the, grants that you were gonna apply, you were gonna start to apply for them. Is that it, the house raising?
No,
Oh, so
unfortunately,
the fire, when I mentioned it, the fire department
Yes.
grants? Yeah. Yeah, for equipment, for different apparatus for the
Oh, it's
fire
not for
department.
flooding,
it's
It's
for
not
fire.
flooding.
no,
I'm sorry.
unfortunately, we attempted to do that last year, I'm not sure if you recall or not. But for those people who wanted to be able to raise their houses, unfortunately, we did not meet the criteria, and so we were denied.
So expensive. And the final thing, William Street, what are we doing about that? About the, I just wanted an update on William Street, on the parking on William Street, about the school.
Oh, yeah,
Somebody
no,
told
I
me,
talked to the chief, right? We talked to the chief.
Yeah.
And I think we got approval from the judge.
Yeah, well,
The judge wanted to review it.
that was about the 2-hour parking.
Yeah.
But my understanding is that they worked out some kind of an agreement reference to between the school. But, I don't know what the outcome of that is yet.
No, and we're gonna have the chief come and talk about it if we need to, but we're essentially gonna be,
yeah, because.
the ordinance will be posted and the signs are gonna be spaced out, so, it's not so sporadic like it is now.
Nasty things are happening there.
We're changing
So-
ordinance.
No, the ordinance is in place, we just have to put the numbers up there.
Yeah, I think they worked something out that used the current ordinance of additional signage.
There's a couple of signs that have different ordinance, one of them's not even active anymore. The wheelchair signs at the accessible spots gonna be redone.
Okay, thank you very
And
much.
then they worked out something for, in regards to the towing, the chief gave board, pointers on how to go about getting cars towed if they're there for long periods of time.
Yeah, there's always 11 cars there when I go past it, no matter what time of day, 11 cars. And this is, you're gonna not let them park overnight there,
Yeah, but you know.
or during the day?
No, I think it's no,
Because in the paper, there was something about from 9 to 6 or something, that they weren't allowed to park. They were allowed to park that.
Mayor, if I can, I think what we need to do until we get a full report back from the chief, I don't think we should commit to anything until we know exactly what the agreement was.
I know that the chief and the school have worked out something that they both agree upon, so we'll report back once we get the final report. I know one of the things is they needed to go to the judge to make sure that what they wanted to implement was valid.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ed Quinn, 19 Peak Street. 3 items I want to cover. One, DPW, excellent job this morning. They took care of that large oak tree in front of my house, took the stump out. Were very polite, very professional, outstanding job, kept me informed of what they were doing. So I want to compliment whoever's in charge of DPW. I think that's Linda, isn't it?
Yes.
Excellent job. So
The guys-
people were professionals. Number 2, negative thing. I'm outside trying to get into this meeting. I had an American Disabilities Committee meeting to go to, and I got here after 8 o'clock, the door's locked. It's no fun standing out in the cold weather, trying to attend a township meeting, which is supposed to be open to the public. The doors are locked at 8 o'clock. If I got here after 8 o'clock, I'm out there with several people. That's not fun. This is the 3rd meeting that it's occurred to me, and so I'm complaining tonight.
Yes.
Make sure the door doesn't lock at 8 o'clock.
I know this happened in the last meeting too.
And honestly, what had happened was when you were doing the proclamations, I got a text message from the engineer as he was walking out to let me know that the doors were locked.
So who's locking
And
this?
so they're automatically locked, so anyway, so I called the police department, and had the doors are now unlocked.
So it's a legitimate concern.
So, yeah.
Can you make sure that they know when we're having
Yeah,
our
yeah,
meetings and that
just,
they
you
don't
know,
lock
we
them
got
until?
here early,
let
we
them
got
know?
into the meeting, and it just slipped on my sorry.
It's just something that we need to take action on.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I didn't appreciate missing 3 meetings. You know how I like to complain. So,
You said nice things about.
I do, and then I wasn't sure what I heard tonight, because it was difficult to hear in the back. Some people like to talk about other things, and so I didn't hear. But Michael, I got the understanding that you recommended that we return the donations that we gave years ago. Okay, and I understand that there was a political divide about whether we keep the house or we don't keep the house. I donated my donation in good faith. I think it should be returned in good faith.
No interest, Mr. Quinn,
Pardon?
no interest.
No, I'm not looking for it. I just want it to be fair. And if you don't return the money to me that I gave in good faith to help the town, and I know it wasn't enough, I apologize for that. But I think it should be returned in good faith.
It will be, the resolution.
Okay, I didn't hear what the answers were, but I will tell you that the Irish annoyance factor went up when Mark said we should pocket the money. That's not fair to the
I
citizens.
didn't say pocket. The administrator said it
Keep
was
it in-
properly used.
Keep it in the township, whatever you said.
You said it was properly spent.
You made $50,000 when you buy and sell. That's all I care about, right? Maybe my dollars are a little off.
We're not in the real estate. The town's not in the real estate.
I know that, but we made $50,000.
We didn't.
So don't tell,
No, we didn't. We
don't
made
tell the
improvements.
committee,
We did not get
please.
fully recouped.
Am I speaking? Then you listen. You're here to listen to the people. The people are here to give you your comments. You're here to help the people.
Yes.
Okay? Not be a dictator. So please, listen to me when I say, I'm annoyed that you did not want to give me back my money. That's what you said.
I didn't say
You
that.
didn't say me personally.
I didn't
You
say
said the town should keep the money in their pocket. That's what you said.
I didn't say keep it. I said the money was already spent. I didn't say that we kept it. I said the money was
Did we
spent. You
spend
said there was $4,000.
$680,000, Mark?
I'm
Did we
saying-
spend 608?
I'm saying that
600, what
you
is
said
it,
that you gave
680,000?
17,000, there's 4,200.
Whatever it is,
It wasn't
Mark,
there.
Mark, please, I'm telling you how I feel. If I gave my money in good faith, the township should return it so I can do something else for the township. That's what I'd like to do. But if you deny me that right, guess what? I'm not gonna be a happy camper. That's all I'm telling you. And I will be here every week breaking your stones. I will tell you that right up front. I can be a miserable person if you make me that. I try not to do that. I love all the people here. I appreciate you're dedicating your time to be here. But when you insert things that are not well, I get annoyed. I'm telling you how I feel. So know where I'm coming from.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Francine Pasquarello, 3016 Avenue. I have a question. On the corner of Lincoln Avenue and Central, what in God's name are they building those 2 buildings? Are they homes? So they can kiss each other goodnight through the windows? What?
Those are homes.
Seriously, I'm not kidding. I've never seen anything that big or that close to that commercial park. So why was it allowed?
It went through zoning and planning, so, the board's approved.
That was one lot.
Yeah, it was 1 mile, so I think it was subdivided.
It was actually originally 2 lots, and because the house was catty corner on there, they asked permission to put it back to 2 lots. And I was a member of the planning board at that time, and we approved it.
And that building is within, did they need to go to the zoning board?
They went to the planning board.
They went to the planning board to split the lot?
Yes.
and then when they built whatever they built,
It's
it's
two points.
within, without them having to go to the zoning board?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if
The
they
plan-
need variances or not.
There were,
Offset, property offset. I
there
don't
was
know.
variances involved,
So
but
then they
as
need
it
to go
was
to zoning.
presented,
No, they don't.
Because I think
Planning
it's
board,
accepted,
yeah.
and I don't think our town should look like that.
everything went through the planning board.
I understand, that's just my opinion.
Okay.
The Queen gave his opinion.
Yes, no, that's fine.
I think it's ugly, and I don't think it should be allowed. And I know maybe they did it within the criteria or not, but it looks terrible. Sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening, Karen Sarah, 28 Crescent Street. I was here probably in November asking about the list for doing curbs and all that stuff. How do you get on the list? I read in the paper, the other two streets got approved for, curbs. I drove up those streets. Yes, those curbs are a mess. Our curbs on Crescent and El Dorado are a significant mess. We're flood zone. I took my time to walk my block because I was under the impression somebody was going to do that, but since the whole switchover, maybe that person isn't here anymore, I don't even know. But I would like to submit my list of, from El Dorado and Crescent Street, down from Verdun all the way up to Rochelle Avenue. I clearly marked the addresses and what was wrong with these curbs. I'm very happy to hear that we are finally, after 20 years, going to do something with Sprout Brook. I've been flooded 3 times. I'm one of the lucky ones. Other people have had 4 times, maybe 5. I don't want to see another flood. Which brings me to, I guess, number 120 West Estate Street is that thing they're building over there. I wasn't sure if that's the address.
Yes, it is.
All right, I would have spoke before, but is that grade raised? Because I've grown up in this area and it looks like all those pebbles are higher than they were before they're going to build something. And I just know when you put something on a hill, you know what goes downhill. All of us that live lower than that building that's going to go up there. I recall many years ago on Verdun, a man had actually put some cubic dirt around his house, and this committee made him remove it because it impacted the other houses around him, because he didn't know he needed a permit. I'm very conscious about this flood stuff. I was one of the last houses on Crescent Street to get flooded. My other concern is, I brought this up at the last time I stood up here. The pitch of my street has never been right. I get floods even when it rains for 5 seconds in front of my driveway and my neighbor. We had to replace my whole apron about 5 years ago because of what was happening with the erosion of the road meeting our curb, or part of our curb, I should say, because we're missing curb also. I don't know if anything can be done about that, but this water is supposed to continue down to Cedar and go away, and it doesn't. It stops right in front of my house. And I'm not paying for another apron or another piece of curb, which, and I'm gonna give you all these pictures, which brings me up to my original issue for ever coming to one of these meetings. Many years ago, we had a plow rip up my curb. I think you guys that were here last time, I reminded them that the town engineer at the time told me that my curbs were a mess anyway, almost kind of like blowing it off. And this was the township's way of fixing what they ripped up. They used asphalt to fix my curb. I want a curb the way they're supposed to be. And you see that other chunk, they didn't fix that part because that was erosion. So I actually had the boulder that got ripped up many years ago. So my issue is, how do you get on the list to fix this many houses? I think there's 22. You guys can keep it, rip it up, shred it at the next shredding. But I feel like I've been here, this is my third time. I literally was here almost 5 years ago with the same concern. And I said this the last meeting, that I did sit down, I sat down with Mr. Davidson in his office, talking, and you might not remember, because I
Well,
get
actually, we have a conversation.
yeah, but I just want to know, how do you get on the list? Does anybody know? Because
So this list is different than the list that we always hear about for sidewalks and trees. So Bob, this is obviously a street program.
Yeah, I mean,
How are we evaluating our street programs and what's the priority as we go through them?
Well, what happens, basically what ends up happening is that the DPW superintendent, he's the one that usually makes the recommendations, and then what we do is have the township engineer come out. Because basically, just so you're aware, within the last 3 years now, I'm gonna say, between the last 3 or 4 years, we are now doing curbs. In the past, the town was not doing curbs. They would just do the roadway and not do the curbs. So we are now, like I said, within the last 3 to 4 years, we are now, not when we do the roads, we are doing the curbs as well. So now it comes down to more of a situation of, sorry, that's actually the police department. As for, I'm sorry, I apologize, I just lost track of what I was gonna say. But
The curves.
now that we're doing the curves, it's more of the idea of what the street situation is. If in fact the street needs to be replaced, then that's what we would do. We don't really have a curb program
Well,
right
something
now.
was mentioned about a grant the last time I was here too, and they said that the township engineer is no longer working here anymore, and that the next person will be able to work on whatever. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, but those grants are state grants, okay, that we've been applying for, but they have to meet certain criteria. One of them, in order for it to be there, in most cases, it has to deal with access to a highway or those type of things that we can actually get monies from the state. We did get some monies for Terrace Avenue, but the reason for that was because they had built the apartments back at the end of the street and allowed us the ability to put a request in for that particular grant. So there really isn't a grant out there that would meet the criteria for your street. What's your number?
28 Crescent Street.
Okay, because I know you're there, I just wanted to know, yeah, the house.
Bob, I have the paper, I'll give you, it's on.
Yeah, but the whole thing is what I'm going to do is I'm gonna ask the engineer to take a look, especially at the flooding issue, as well as.
Yeah, that's been, and that's a small puddle.
Right, so I
walk a lot, and I actually, when I walk to church, there's even a worse one right on Rochelle Avenue that, I was pushing with a wheelchair or carriage, you'd be going through 3 inches of water. Like, I don't understand who doesn't go behind the people that make the roads and say, no, you screwed up, but let's fix it. Is there a clerk of works, is there somebody?
Is that the street funding?
Are you talking about Brooks, the corner of Brooks?
No, I'm on Rochelle Avenue, walking to church, and it's, you have a big floodway, you too.
We have.
This is a,
Yeah,
I stand by this.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, I just wanna know how you get on the list, because this is like my third time actually putting this up.
The administrator is going to follow up with the engineer, you guys are going to, and before you do that, we wanted to just address across the street. And this is for everyone, right? I know that everyone is sensitive to flooding. Obviously, we all live here. We've had flooding. My sister lost her home. Gail has lost her home. I can assure you that we won't do anything to jeopardize flooding. So the best we can do is tell you that we've had the DEP, they were given permission to make sure that there's net zero runoff, meaning that whatever water is shed off of that property prior to the development, it shouldn't be any more than that. And that's by the DEP, so it's regulation, and it's, as far as they go with the inspection. And I don't know, Joe, you want to add anything?
The only thing I would add is that the total impervious coverage after the whole development is done is gonna be less than what existed before, significantly less. So I'm not an expert on flood conditions, but it would seem logical.
Well, I hope our engineer also validates what the DEP says, because the DEP has not always been so righteous. There's other things behind it, so I'm just saying, it's one of those things, like the air is clear down there by 9/11, okay? good. I'm glad we all agreed with that one, and we're seeing the outcome of that big mistake. So I just hope who's protecting our interests, forget about DEP, they can say what they want, but we need the person that protects our interests. Because I don't know, government agencies these days. Thank you.
Thank you for coming up.
Hi, everybody. Matt Kowinski, 127 Forest Place. My first comment is as a taxpayer. The corner of the same thing that the taxpayer came up and mentioned or spoke about, the corner of Central and Lincoln, those two houses that was brought up just prior, a couple people before I got up. I had a concern about that too, and when that was granted in 2017, I was not on any boards, not representing any boards other than I guess it was a subdivision that was done by the planning board. Variances were granted by the planning board during that subdivision. They granted, I believe it was 3. The lot sizes were sizable, split up for 2 individual houses, but what concerns me is the offsets. The offsets were closer to the street, closer to each other on the houses, and more importantly, and most importantly, closer to Lincoln Ave. You reduced it from 25-foot setback to 14-foot setback. You took 11 feet out of visibility. And that's a busy corner to begin with. And people use it as a throughway to go down and cut through down to, everybody cuts down through there. And I've heard people come up here and complain about the amount of cars and vehicles that come through there. So I was a little surprised when I saw that it wasn't a sensitive opinion on the board to keep that, maintain that setback, that 25-foot setback with that first house. And it's something that I'm always watching too. We've passed things on the zoning board where we put up fences and we were just concerned about, keeping, maintaining that also on side yards. We've spoken about that. So I would ask and I would plead that the message get brought out to please maintain and be careful with safety issues and visibility issues when granting, and what is the hardship for having the 2 houses rather than the 1? What was the hardship granted that needed that necessitated that, to put that into that view, into that offset? That's the first item that I had. The next 2 items I'm here as a school board president. The first one, I heard something brought up just before about parking on William Street, and we had our public meeting last night, and in our discussion, it was brought up amongst a couple of board members that they were under the impression, and we were under the impression because of that discussion, that the board was adopting a no parking ordinance or updating the no parking ordinance for William Street to allow it to be ticketed. That's what we were told last night, and that's what we were under the impression was going to happen tonight. We have adopted policies, and we were holding off on a policy to amend our policy so it matches or becomes part of and matches the board's determination here. But we can't do that, not as of right now. It's a very big concern of the school board. Everybody on that school board, and I think for years, everybody on that school board is very consistently concerned about the condition of that lot, the way cars pull in, and it's not able to be maintained in the winter. We cannot plow it properly. When we cannot plow it properly, what happens is children have to walk and students have to walk behind vehicles as they back out of the lot instead of in front of vehicles, which makes it a safety issue and a very big concern. So I would urge you to please reconsider, and
I'll follow up with you tomorrow and get back to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much on that. My last,
Yes.
Just a quick question. Who told you that we were acting on this thing tonight?
2 of our board members.
Okay, who were they?
I believe it was, you know, I don't know, it's in my,
Was it in the public, was it in the
in the
meeting?
public meeting, yeah.
Okay, so
We'll get back there.
it was discussed in the public meeting
Yeah.
that we were gonna take action tonight to address your.
We'll get back to
issue.
you on that. We'll get back to you on when Nicholas calls me tomorrow. I'll get him that information.
Okay, and then, you were unaware that that members of the school board and the township and the police department were discussing a resolution?
No, we sat down a while ago. We sat down with, I forgot the officer's name. He came to us, the, Kolkowski? Yes, he came to us. He sent us to have a discussion, but that was like, if I remember correctly, 6 or 7 months ago. We had just started with discussions on that then about, all you have to do is this with your ordinance, and our attorney at the time had said, sent the draft over and it was gonna be reviewed and sent back, and there was gonna be 2 readings on it, and that's it. So this has been going on, it's been going on for a long time.
Okay, but recently you were unaware of any continuing meetings or recent meetings about this issue?
No, I was not aware of that.
All right, thank you.
Well, I'll follow up tomorrow with the chief and get back to you, man.
Oh, no problem. And the last note, I just wanted to, thank the mayor and council for getting back to me on the pilot program, getting back to the school board, not me, as a liaison. As I reached out to you today, quickly respond, and I could see seems like there's a concern of the mayor and council to be involved with the school, or at least hear us and take our input and, you know, and be involved with us as far as, you know, we're very concerned. The school board met last night again, and I'm going to say it again, that we're very concerned about the implications and how it's going to affect the school, and, you know, with enrollment being, I guess, one of our first priorities. We hope, in this meeting coming up, I don't know if it's possible, what would really benefit, I think everyone, would be the fact that you hold off to voting on a pilot program until we've had the chance to meet as a full board with you. We're going to be, I think the joint boards are meeting on the 25th. I mean, we could hold off, or you can, you know, find a way to hold off at least till you meet with us, so you hear us. I know you're having a question and answer period for the public, and that's already been, all that information's been, as you send it, I send it right over, and it's going to be forecasted out to the rest of the board members. I don't know how many can make it on that time.
Once we finalize as well, the clerk will send you the meeting notice.
Send us on that meeting, but if you can, again, give us a little time to meet with you as a full board, meaning like either the joint boards on the 25th, or if you want to do one meeting just with the school board. I know it's a lot of meetings for you, it's a lot of meetings for us, but this is something that impacts the town and impacts everybody. Again, we're concerned. We have a heightened, very heightened concern down, you know, when we meet, and this is something that we spoke about at length last night. So.
All right, well, we'll meet on the 12th, and we'll take it under advisement in regards to, you want to meet as a board. You'll have the opportunity here on the 12th to, we can interact.
Well, we can interact, like I said, but as a board, you already have that meeting set. I have to get that back, and then everybody in the, you know, on our board has to be able to come to the public meeting, and we sit in the public and get called up, or we call, you know, what the request was for legal representation to be there from you and from us, you know, from both boards, so we can, at that kind of forum, we can actually hash out any real concerns. You know, not that we can't do it in public, but we're going to be limited. You know, I don't know who can show up yet.
What are the concerns of the board about the pilot program project that you want addressed? Can you forward the questions to us prior to the 12th of that meeting? We should be able to. We have all the personnel in place, hopefully, to answer all the questions that are concerned. We're going to have our economist, our engineer, our floodplain manager. Who else is coming? Our redevelopment attorney. So those are all the elements, the components, our professionals that will be here at one place. So we should be able to answer all the questions that you have.
Well, can't speak for the entire board on everything, every concern from every board member, but what I can say in the general terms, enrollment, we're very concerned about the forecast in the enrollment, which means our school's at its limits. We're not going to be able to take in, even what the economists had projected, we think is right off the cuff, we think is light. But even at that, we have an issue with having enough space in the school. So we're talking about school construction right out of the gate with this project.
Do you have a projection from an expert that you're going to?
We're actually just engaged just because of the meeting, the last month's meeting, when Teresa Corvello was here and myself, and we heard the numbers, we brought that information back to the board. Even though we were here as taxpayers, we brought the information back and we just made them aware of what was going on. So in a short amount of time, we were able to agree that we need to move forward and get some expert advice on enrollment from Mark and see if it matches up with what your economist.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I think, the project's been approved, so the numbers are the numbers. In regards to the number of students, whether it goes.
The project was approved as far as the pilot program was approved, or the project? Right, so the project is right, but how it's going to affect the school, how it's going to affect the enrollment is something, again, it's something we feel like we should have been involved with, or at least we were asking for one time.
Could you work with the rest of the board members between now and the 12th and put a list of questions together so we can send them to the economist or to whomever will be here testifying to make sure that they're addressed, so that night you guys feel like.
Like I said, I didn't waste any time. When you didn't waste any time getting back to me, I already sent all the information you sent about you trying to get a meeting together. We didn't have a date as of then, this earlier today, but now we have the 12th. So as I found out that it was the 12th, I'm sending that as I'm sitting here in the audience, I'm texting and sending it out to our administration so they can get it out to the board and put in a request to
If
meet.
you want, you can email me the question, and I'll work with Joe to make sure that the proper professional gets it so they can address them.
All right.
It'll save time during the meeting, and it'll also make sure that we get the questions answered that you're looking to get answered, you or whomever else on the board.
All right, well, we'll do our best, like I said, to get that together. I mean, do what we can. But we do have a meeting on the 25th, though, scheduled also, the joint boards meeting. So if we cannot get everyone here, and we cannot get any experts that we may have retained to a public meeting, to that public meeting, would it be possible to hold off until the 25th, until we can meet? That's what we're asking for.
I won't commit to that, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Or have another meeting.
This will be the third meeting. That meeting will be the third meeting. This will be the second meeting that we're having our experts coming.
This is the only second. This is the only one I've heard of. Is the second one as a taxpayer. The school board doesn't even know there was one up till now.
I think what the mayor was trying to understand was the project across the street has been approved as a redevelopment concept and a redevelopment plan for that site. How is the financial document of the pilot going to increase or decrease?
I don't know.
The amount of students.
That's why we need to, but this is why we needed to have a discussion about this last year. We've asked, the school board has asked, is there any projections on any projects coming up? And we were told nothing up till now. So we're asking now that we're being made aware of it, and we're trying to jump on board and do whatever we can to support, but we need some conversation.
I think our planner is going to be here as well. He's our redevelopment planner. And I am sure he will bring some recent studies, articles that identify that the model that was used to predict how many students are coming from this across the street are fall in line with what the economist was projecting. And I think there will probably be some articles in there that even predict that less than what was already proposed or predicted will actually come about. So we'll make sure that our professionals are aware that you're worried about the impact on the school, and we'll have some articles as well as studies that verify what they've stated in the past.
Just out of curiosity, when you guys, I guess, were approaching developments and approaching, and I know there's more coming up, is there any reason why you wouldn't involve the school board or ask us for any input on any of this?
The projects go before the zoning board or the planning board, so, you know, that's where most of them were approved. I mean, this particular one was approved by the boards and also part of the litigation, you know.
I'm not saying we're a board that has to approve it. What I'm saying is, why wouldn't you come to us to ask for our input? I'm just curious, why would you not want us, or, because here, you don't want to get involvement from us? I don't understand.
Because those are public meetings that anyone can attend and submit comment to.
I didn't know about the public meeting that was coming up, that last one as a taxpayer. And I still have not seen the report yet as a taxpayer. I've not seen the report yet that you talked about at the last meeting that was supposed to be available, or was going to be available, made available. I haven't seen anything yet.
As soon as the report becomes an official document, it will be released to the public.
Joe, can you explain? I'm sorry, everybody. There's more to this than meets the eye, and I think it's time it's brought out. This was the pilot there was litigation involved in 2017. I'd like our lawyer to explain it, because there's so many mixed signals up here, and it needs to be forthright. It's all out. It was litigation, litigated. We need to be honest with the public. I'm sorry. I can't go like this. Joe, can you explain?
Well, there was litigation involving that site, but part of it was the fair share housing litigation to determine our affordable housing obligations. It's all really wrapped into one bundle. When that case was resolved before the court and the project was approved, part of that was that a pilot would be considered. I mean, it has to be negotiated. You know, pilots, as I've explained to the committee, go from one end of the spectrum to the other. Some are geared more towards the developer, some more towards the municipality. Where we fall within that is what we're talking about right now. So it's part of the judge's order that a pilot be reviewed and negotiated and considered in good faith. That's what Linda's talking about. I mean, it's court order. We're ordered to do it.
So you're ordered to take a pilot program?
No.
Consider a pilot program.
Negotiated in good faith.
So you were supposed to consider a pilot program.
Right. But in terms of
negotiations, did he say to leave out the school board from the negotiation?
That really wasn't part of any of the discussions. I mean,
that's the only reason why what I'm saying is.
But Matt,
it's very effective. It's very affecting. It's going to be effective. You know.
But whether there's a pilot or there's not a pilot, the same number of students are going to come out of that development. The development's been approved. Now, it's the real question.
Right,
the real question you should be answering: if there's no pilot, will the developer ever build a project? That's really the question. Then there'll be no students created and nothing will be built there.
Right. Well, we'd also be open to a litigation for builder's remedy for probably 5 times the amount of people.
So, but whether there's whether it's a pilot or what type of pilot, how long it is, what the percentages are, that in and of itself doesn't have any effect on the school. What has an effect on the school is what's built and how many students are going to be produced from it.
For example, if we knew, when was the court case? When did it end?
2018, July.
So in 2018, if we knew about that, then maybe we could have been working towards a budget to be prepared or be more prepared for a forecast of what's coming down the pike. That's what I'm saying, and that's where we're at now. Now we're at the pike. Now you're saying it's already approved, you're ready to go, it's going to be built, and then within a year, you'll have a building up and you'll have occupants, and we'll have, the economist said forecasted 25, if that number is true, coming to the school, we'll have no work for them. I mean, that's the way it's going to work.
I think didn't that start with 180 units, and then it's
It started with a lot more than, it started with a lot more than it was ultimately
It
given.
was 255 at one point, 240, then went to 180. And the township wanted 150 as it was zoned, and we're at 160 at this point. So that was the settlement after that litigation, was 160 units.
That's it, I just, like I said, I just would like, on behalf of the school board, just to be involved, that's all. So I'll watch for contact from you tomorrow, and I'll notify
Send me
everybody.
the emails if you get questions. So we can
Quick as possible, we'll try and get something together for
You've got a
that.
couple of weeks or whenever. I mean, I don't think that they need much time. If we give them a couple of days at least.
So just for the record though, you guys will not commit to wait till the 25th, to the 25th to meet with us as a full board.
I won't commit to it because I don't know how the meetings will go.
But remember, wait, there's a discussion on the 12th. If there's any agreement on a pilot, it's got to be done in an ordinance. So it wouldn't be introduced until at least the second meeting in February, maybe in March. That's introduction, then a public hearing. So you're probably talking March, April, or something before it's, so you got plenty of time to do meetings, you know. So the 12th is only a further presentation. There's a whole process after that. So, you know, it may even be into April before it's adopted. So there'll be time to have the meeting on the 25th, discuss, you know, whatever you want to meet.
Well, yeah, I think we've already been in contact, right? On the
Yeah.
25th for the joint board meeting
7
at
o'clock.
our, this week. Okay.
Put it on that agenda.
Thank you for your time.
Discuss that.
Joe, the financial report, does that become public after we have the meeting on the 12th?
Correct, yeah, that'll be the final. This was just a final.
Okay.
Good evening, Heather on Terrace Avenue. The pilot program, when were you gonna tell us that this was a lawsuit that you're kind of forced, that you have to negotiate? We're coming here and asking you questions, trying to plead our case why we think it's a bad idea, and you're misleading us.
I've not misled anyone. I just found out about this in December, I think, about
So you
the litigation.
Wow. And why was the lawsuit brought forward? Why did we have to negotiate? What was the lawsuit about?
Because of the fair housing.
That, providing our affordable housing obligations under the Fair Housing Act.
Right.
And then there were other grounds in the litigation that Topher filed that, but most of it revolved around our ability to satisfy our affordable housing obligations.
There's always fair housing, and you don't go to the judge. It's either you have enough units, there's different things that they look at, but they don't say, you have to negotiate a pilot. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
So there's something else. What else am I missing?
Yeah, that is frequently a part of it, because that's how the builders.
I read all the time in the papers. It's always in the papers. They're down in Hackensack, in Bergen County. I've never heard you have to negotiate a pilot. I've never heard of such a thing.
You don't have to provide it, you have to negotiate it.
So you're saying we don't have to give it to them, you could still say no?
Yeah, as long as it's done in good faith, then
Okay.
it could be rejected. Yeah, otherwise there'd be no point in discussing it. We're not obligated to do anything, other than exercise good faith in discussing it with them.
I'm just really confused about the process, and, first of all, when we started talking about the pilots, we were talking about SMB Bank. Is that still on the table?
For a pilot program?
Yes. Is
That
there
hasn't
any
even-
written a report for that?
You know, hasn't been.
That hasn't come before anything.
So
That was
that's
just,
done,
well, it might, I mean, it hasn't been anything formal, no applications or anything. It was just an initial look, so.
Okay,
It may come about with the development over there. They may ask for pilot, you know, that's a whole different thing.
Right, so I was just surprised when 120 came forward with the pilot, and I'm still confused about the process, because you're discussing this, and at the last meeting, they talked about having a gas station, which to me is very concerning. You're putting tanks in the ground and.
There's no gas station.
Well, he did, he said that.
No, what he said was that in Topher's application,
Right,
they mentioned, and it was just a mistake, because early in the process, they came here when the case was being litigated, and they wanted to have a commercial pad to put like I think like a Wawa or something like that, but it was rejected. It was, so it's completely out of the project.
So you actually have plans, like we know what's going in there, as far as it's not a gas station, it's, drawings for what?
8,000 square foot
There's
retail.
a-
Right,
Yeah,
but they
it's a
don't
drive-through.
actually tell you what they're doing, so in other words, how do you decide on anything if you don't have actual plans?
They said to
Conceptual,
us, they said to us, it would be most likely a bank, small, because banks are getting smaller. They said it would be a small bank, a retail establishment, and then they looked at a restaurant going in there. They referenced Panera Bread or Panera Type.
Okay, so my problem is, if you don't have exact, and you're saying, okay, you have a pilot, and then they come back and they say, well, we want a gas station. You know, I mean, I don't understand if you don't have anything in writing and it's not concrete.
Yeah, well, it's
How
zoned
do
for
you
certain,
negotiate?
it's zoned for certain, and it's been approved for a retail, certain commercial sites, but that's a different animal than a gas station.
Right,
That was
but you're
rejected.
supposed to be.
So when they find a tenant to occupy it, that's when they'd have to make the application, go back to the board for that particular tenant.
Seems almost backwards to me. I mean, you're saying, you know, maybe ABC, and then they come in and you don't know. So how do you negotiate from a point of good faith when you don't know what you're negotiating?
At the time, may I?
Yeah.
At the time of planning board final approval, they will have to make a judgment if the proposal of having a certain type of commercial use is consistent with the prior approved plan.
Right.
So that is the time where they will say, this is, you know, they said commercial pad, and they want to put in a gas station. That is not consistent. If they say Panera Bread and a bank and coffee shop or whatever it winds up being, if that's consistent in their determination, then they'll get the approval.
Right, and then you take a chance, they'll sue you and say, you didn't, you know, allow us to do, I know how those things work a lot of times, so it's a big chance.
We can't protect every contingency from a lawsuit. I mean,
Right.
it's impossible to do. We tried to do it with the negotiation of the original concept plan for the site, and that did not happen. So we're at the point that we're at right now.
Okay. But again, the pilot program, my problem is it is flood zone. And if they want to take a chance with their money, that's fine. I don't think we should be on the hook to give them a tax break. They're, you know, and you're saying they can't do this project. If you look at their background, they're a multi-million-dollar company. They have a lot of acquisitions. They sell a lot. They are very successful. They have articles. They have a very successful 2019. So for them to come and say that, I think the judge needs to look at why they can't build this. I think they should be standing from a strong standpoint and saying, we think they can. Let them take their chance by themselves. You don't have to do the pilot program. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Ms. Long, 1 minute. I'm not an expert. I sit up here. I take advice from our professionals. After Joe forwarded this up, and I agreed to this, it was in July of 2018. I was sitting on the township committee, and but I'll tell you the truth, I didn't read it. When Joe sent it to us and it said, it reads, I'm going to read it right out to you. It says, section 4.7, pilot financial agreement. The township acknowledges that TOLFRA has advised that it requires a financial agreement to allow a pilot for long-term tax abatement to make the project, including the inclusionary development, financially viable. The township shall retain an expert to determine the financial impact of the proposed pilot on the township. That is Bernecki. We hired somebody. And the cost associated with the study shall be the sole responsibility of TOLFRA. The township shall negotiate the terms of such financial agreement with TOLFRA or any successor or assigned in good faith and shall expedite the negotiations of the term of such financial agreement. I then said, why did we get here? And again, I asked Joe, can you give me the lawsuit so I could read it and why? Well, actually, Mark and I are in that lawsuit because we sat in on the meeting as newly elected council members. It was November 8th, the day after we were elected, So we sat in on that, and we're in it as being members of the public sitting in on the closed session. So it's amazing, and I read it twice today trying to figure out why we got into this situation. And I'm not a lawyer, but I've asked Joe different questions, and it just seems like some things weren't done quite fast enough for them, but also it just seemed to be like some stuff was left behind. And I'm hoping we, as a township committee now, can address these matters, that we stick together and address matters in town, like the billboards. We are getting all these billboards. In 2014, there was an ordinance drawn up by Mr. Rotolo to stop any more ordinances in town. That failed to enact it. So I'm just hoping, and I know they're all in agreement, to stop this kind of stuff, that we could protect the town a little more. Because to me, this is how I feel. I'm for development, but not at a cost to the taxpayers. This successful business did not embark on this project to improve the township of Rochelle Park. They saw it as an opportunity for their own financial gain. But, we have it here, we have to fairly negotiate something. If we stop them, if we don't give them a pilot, I believe that's gonna stay empty. I can't, I'm trying the best I can to see what we can do.
They just bought Roberto's, did they not buy houses, I think, also on Fairfield? That doesn't sound like, to me, a company that needs tax breaks. I'm just, wondering why. And again, the problem I have too, I've asked for the report and you said I can't have it, which I understand, but I'm kind of just, again, the process. So you're going to negotiate in good faith, and whatever you decide, it's like you almost have to pass it before we find out what's in it. And, it's just questions that we have, and you're leaving us to assume, and when we assume, we think the worst, and, it's just a that's a process. We like things to be transparent, and we don't sometimes see it that way. So, again, when do we get to see the numbers? We're just trying to do ABC. You're talking meeting, and it sounds like you're rush, and, that's the way we're looking at it. Is there a timeline that you have to get this done?
No, we could.
Okay.
That report should be public after we have the meeting on the 12th.
Okay, so we'll.
So say, the report that we got before was a draft.
Right.
And after we had some more feedback with Mr. Benetti, he was speaking to Tultra, they were gonna make some revisions and then give us the revised
So
ones.
he's the one that's actually negotiating whether it's 20 years, 30 years?
Well, he's not negotiating. He came
No.
up with his version of what might be acceptable to them. And then it'll be up to us, once we sit back down, to ask our questions and see what else we can get if we move forward.
Okay, so it's still a process. Appreciate it. And Mark, leave my paper bag, plastic bags alone. I'm just, yeah, I'm not good.
It makes it biodegradable.
Yeah, I just like the line south. Not good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add on one thing that was said. Mr. Kessler, when you were asking about the effect on the schools, I'm not talking numbers, so everybody has different opinion on what the numbers are gonna be. But I also want to think about the financial. If the pilot program goes through, loosely the numbers are 50% to a school, usually from taxes, 45% to the town, 5% to the county. But then I know they move a little bit. Pilot program, all of it goes except for 5% to the town and nothing to the school. So that means that that's great for the town budget, but the school still needs money to operate. And if all the money that they would have gotten in tax money goes to this program, you're forcing school taxes to go up. So the taxpayers in the town are gonna pay for it either way. And I think that's something that you really need to think about, because especially if you do like the 20 or 30 year one, Most places that do this program are districts that not only need people to come in and work and build their town, they're avid districts. And avid districts, for people that don't know, get money from the state for their school system. So they're not worried about it because if the money goes to their town, they're still getting avid money from the state to support the school system. We are not an avid district, which I'm quite thankful for, but in the end, the school district is going to need the money. So you need to consider how the taxpayers are gonna have to pay, the fact that you get all this money, which might alleviate certain things at the township end, but it's not gonna help the school who has to come up with the money. And again, it's all the taxpayers then that have to come up with that money in taxes. So I just want you to consider that, when if Mr. Brunicki was the gentleman that was here the last meeting, he just seemed very pro the pilot program, and that worries me. He didn't seem to present both sides. I don't know what he tells you in your other meetings, but what he presented to the public seemed very one-sided. And maybe that's his own opinion, but I would like to see a, plus and minus thing, These are the pluses, these are the minuses, and then you look at both and you see which one is better or worse. He didn't seem to present anything beyond pilot program, go for the pilot program. Oh, there'll be very few kids. 3 bedrooms, that's gonna have kids. 2 bedrooms, they're gonna have kids. A couple is not gonna move into a 3-bedroom apartment unless they have kids, so they're gonna only want one, maybe a 2. So whatever numbers he came up with seemed a little slanted, but like I said, I'm more concerned about the tax effect it's gonna have on those people in town. So when you guys get to your consideration, I hope you think about that.
Just for clarification for the record, my question was, how does this financial document increase or decrease the amount of students that are coming off that property?
Okay.
And it is a financial document. It is not a physical increase or decrease of the development that's going over there. So the financial documents should have zero impact on the number of students that are coming off of that
I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean by a financial document?
Yes, he uses formulas in there to try and calculate the impact.
Right.
It does.
But the
Calculate on the
formulas,
development.
formulas, the financial document, the tax incentives, tax breaks, tax increases have nothing to do with the physical development of the site, and it will not increase or decrease the amount of students that are coming out of 160 units. The 160 units remain consistent, whether there's a pilot or there's no pilot.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying that when this gets built, if and when, and whatever number of students come in,
They need to be paid for.
they need to be paid for. And not just that, the general running of the school system needs X amount of dollars. And they usually depend on their percent of the overall tax collected, I guess, easiest way to put it. So if that overall tax collected suddenly becomes only for the town, where before 50% went to the school, and now 95 is going to the town and 0 is going to the school, that money has to come from somewhere, which will be the taxpayers. And that's my concern. A lot of people, yes, budgets go up and down a few percent one way or the other, but when it goes from 50% to 0, you're talking a great deal of money. And that's where my concern is, for all the taxpayers. I mean, I know you guys are taxpayers too, but that's something to consider. Because it's gonna have a big effect. Like I said, if you look at a lot of towns that have pilot programs, they're avid districts, so they get state money. We don't.
The one thing that I would also like to state is that you're not getting 50% of our dollars that we're collecting for the township. You're getting the budget that you have put forward for the school system. So it is not coming out of the dollar that's coming into the township. It's coming from the school board, who puts together a budget. That budget passes, and then it gets passed on to the taxpayer.
Correct.
So your budget is your budget. It does not come out of the 50% of the dollar, 50% of the dollar that comes into the township.
It's the overall tax.
Yes,
Money.
the overall tax. There's an apportionment of overall tax. The township has their budget, the school has their budget, the county has their budget, the library has their budget, and that's what makes up our overall tax bill.
Yes, but a good amount of that tax money. I mean, that's the pilot program, if you read anything on what they put out, not pro con, that's a stated, their numbers I'm using. I know sometimes it might be 52%, 53, 40, whatever, but to average it out, they're talking about the overall budget. The money is going to go, it goes to the town. From the money that you would have collected in taxes, it now goes to the money that you get as part of your pilot program because it's in lieu of taxes. So that tax money is gotta come from somewhere, and that's the taxpayer, and that's my concern. Thank you.
Oh, 120 is really a pain, isn't it? On this pilot program, as I heard, over the last work session, you had the gentleman here trying to explain it. You said, the judge said, in good faith, negotiate, okay? A pilot can go from 2 years to 30 years, correct? Between 2 and
2, it can go to 50.
Oh, 50,
Yeah,
all right.
it can go to 50.
He suggested a 30-year pilot program.
On one part of it.
I'll just on that.
Okay, yeah.
That's what you've developed.
30 on the residential.
30 on the residential,
25
and
on-
commercial, yeah, 20.
20.
Yeah, 20.
Well, anyway, and you would have a, really was I trying to do it? You have a 30-year, and that, I really lost it. Anyway, that is almost above half. They said, no, and you offered 12% or something, you wanted 12% on the profits?
No, that's benchmarks of the amount of vacancy or.
There's a 12% performance of the property.
Well, but it goes 11% and 12%.
I don't know exactly all that, but.
It's based on how much they rent, how much is rented out in a given time past the 30 years. 5 years was the first, 5 years.
Got a great year, guys.
You got a benchmark of 5 million, and after that, you get what?
5 million, I didn't say 5 years, 5 years, no, 5 years.
I mean, these details are.
See, we're having, he's gonna be back here on the
I know,
12th.
but what I'm trying to say is, I think you are overextending your good faith, because he says the developer wants 10, and you want 12. I don't think he's doing anything to help you. And I don't think they need this money. If they bought all this property, I want to develop as the plan said, and I hope there's no gas station. Because in the flood, I don't want gas station tanks on my front lawn. But it just seems he's financially set, he's still including, he's a businessman. He's trying to make money by getting a pilot program. We, on the other hand, are taxpayers. We don't want to see our taxes go sky high. Okay, we know there are increases in stuff you don't control, like insurances and different stuff. But the least you can do is try and save money, and no one's guaranteed money coming in by just a plain rateable tax that you will get every year. If taxes go up, their taxes will go up. If it floods, and they have to apply for a tax decrease because they had been washed out or something, and like the businesses do, they ask for a tax appeal. Again, you're gonna lose money then. So you're better off with going with the straight tax. If the guaranteed income taxes go up, their taxes
I
are go up.
understand, there's a chance that they don't develop the property though. That's the thing, and I
If they don't
understand what you're saying, and I felt
develop
that same way. When I first initially looked at the report, the first thing I saw was all these different acronyms for rate on return and all different types of federal equations that they come up with. So there's a cost to buying the property, there's a cost to developing it. there's a cost to paying taxes and there's a cost to bringing everything up to full capacity so you can start to generate revenue if you're the owner of that property. And what happens is in a project like this, if they, they put all this money in up front, and if they don't get some type of break or incentive, they don't see a rate of return for 30 or 40 years, and there's no investment for it.
They would not have seen any more than they would have, the guy on Ferris Avenue that built the park. He didn't see the pilot program. He's gonna make money on that, just renting them out. So he'll get his money back in time. You've got 150 apartments, I think it's that one, if it gets that far. Where are you gonna put 100 cars every night?
It's fine, I understand what you're saying, I'm just telling you what I read and my understanding of it.
Right, but now with the pilot program, now, I'm trying to interpret as a layman here, this pilot program. They will then get the taxes of what it is,
254,000.
Right, with the demolished building or something. And you get money by the amount of money that they earn, correct? By their profits? By what?
By vacancy, I believe it is.
As they reach benchmarks, the amounts increase percentage wise.
And then he said, the county gets so much, the town gets so much, and the school gets so much. And then he made that statement, funny money, but they should give it back to you because they don't need it, it's funny money. So you get that in addition.
He will be here to clarify the statements.
Yeah, but what you tell us one meeting is not necessarily true the second meeting, so it'll be a jam-packed meeting, I hope, with a lot of flood people there and everything else.
We hope so too.
I hope so.
We want to hear.
But my final question for this subject. Can you still say no to this pilot program?
Yes.
Yes. And probably end up in litigation.
That's all right. Why? Maybe he'll offer you more. Okay, I'll go walk with 120.
Real estate litigation in this town don't work out so good, Mrs. Hamilton.
I don't think we should be talking about litigation.
Well, maybe because they're always late on something, you know what I mean? They're always one step behind when it should be there, all these requirements. Plus, with a pilot program, you have to monitor it. Even if you get $20,000 to do it, or what, I'm only $50,000. With all the things that I remember him saying was, following the finances and having it audited by an outside auditor, not even your town auditor, and all that. That's all added extra expenses.
They pay that in the pilot.
In the pilot, there's so much money.
Right.
But what goes up every time? Fees, right? So that may not be enough. You got 20, 30 years of that.
But like the one thing with the minimum pilot payment will be what it was when the AT&T building there was 254,841. Of that, 127,000 goes to the school. So I'm just trying to explain what I know. $127,000 goes to the school. Not one student's being enrolled in the 127,000. And I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to point out that the school will not get no money from that project. They will get money. They'll get the original money they were always getting.
Right. That's understood. We're talking about that plus the development of other things there. So, well, when is this meeting? Definitely February?
February 12th at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. I think a lot of us will be there. Second question concerning the, how do you do it? Not terminate, I was corrected with that.
Terminal leave? Terminal leave?
No, the ambulance building. Ambulance squad. I use the word
Solving or?
No, demolish or, no longer. And Mr. Cantor, you corrected me, they know it's dormant. My question is, what's our contract with Hackensack Hospital? When is it up? Anybody know?
Let's see, annual
It's an
expiration.
annual, yeah. So it was being renegotiated.
When is it up?
It's being renegotiated, right? Actually, it's in the hands of their attorneys right now.
Okay. What are I know you've got budgets and all that, but what are tentatively your plans? Are you going to negotiate with Hackensack for 24/7? Are you going to do something else? Farview tried stipends, it didn't work out there.
Yeah, I think we're gonna keep the contract that we have and just use.
Currently, right, and as I think we reported on this the last meeting, so what will happen right now is we will continue to stay with from the 7 to 7, during the regular hours, days. And then they would be on call, but not really be stationed here for the other, which is what we've been doing now for over a year.
But do you plan on re-signing the contract with Hackensack, or are you just going to go like Maywood? You just, when you need an ambulance, you just call 911 and they'll send you, and then you get to pay the whole bill. Are you going to do that?
We're gonna have to take a look at the proposal from Hackensack. And once that proposal comes in, we'll have to analyze if that's something that we can afford to do on both a township level and on a personal level. So based upon those factors, we'll probably make a decision. We have no obligation as a township to provide any ambulance service to anyone in Rochelle Park. That is something that can be provided by an outside service as needed, as ordered through the police department. So based upon that knowledge, we're going to have to come up with an agreement if we are going to continue to fund a supplemental service coming into the township. So based upon the proposal, if it's something that's similar to what exists right now, I think we're likely to continue on with the service as it is being provided. If there's an increase in costs associated with that service, then we might have to analyze if we're going to stay with the service and provide it, or cut from the budget tens of thousands of dollars that go to supplement that service.
Okay, so if that's the case, would you rent that building, or that portion of that building of the ambulance squad to Hackensack?
There's components of the agreement that already address a rental of that facility to Hackensack, as it is right now,
On the current schedule though?
on the current schedule.
Yeah, but it means it was 24/7, they had to maintain everything in it.
I mean, we'll have to see the proposal as it comes out.
When are you expecting that?
Well, I mean, the whole thing is Wayne, I'm not really anticipating any change in what we currently have, in all honesty. But again, that's just doing you 12 hours, okay? And there's no change as far as any resident being charged, unlike Mary.
Right.
So as far as the balance bill is concerned, so as far as that part's concerned. So there's really nothing changed. And again, I think I reported this also, the police department is monitoring, the calls, and right now we're not having any issues. We have not really had an issue for over a year yet, or at least a year period, where we've had issues with getting an ambulance out for a call on the non-contractual hours.
Well, just to give you a little bit of a feedback, why do you take the Holy Name for $124,000 a year, 24/7?
Yeah, but we're not paying anywhere as close to that.
I know, I'm just giving you
Yeah, I read the same article. Matter of fact, I think Mark, you sent that article. So the whole, yeah, I'm just saying, but right now, we're not paying anywhere near that. And even if we doubled it, we wouldn't be at that.
But you have two contracts, so if you doubled it, I think it would be within five.
No, actually, it still would be
It's
below,
50,000.
it still would be below that.
Okay. February 12th. Everybody comes February 12th.
6
We're
p.m.
gonna have pilot program,
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Joseph Cabana, Lake Drive. Earlier someone mentioned about billboards going up in town, so I was wondering, like, what is in place to control them? Because I live on Lake Drive and I'm aware of that. I believe it's 141 Central Ave. They've contracted with somebody to put an 85-foot static billboard, and 158 Central is going to have a meeting also to put another 65-footer. So when does it end? Like, no one seems to have an answer.
We just passed the
Yeah,
order,
we just adopted an ordinance, which basically stopped any further billboards based on the spacing along Route 17.
Well, they said, what, 300 yards or 350 yards away from each other, depending
Yeah,
on if
there's
it's
a
digital or
distance.
static?
Right, there's a distance in the ordinance that's pretty much consistent with the state requirements, but that, we're gonna refine the ordinance a little bit going forward, but the restriction that we adopted, I guess, in November, December, should curtail a lot of them, or stop them really, for all intents and purposes.
So the one that's going up to the paving company, that's pretty much a go, or is everybody had it in place?
That's.
They had to pay- they had to-
Case, yeah, they had it in already.
So, and 158, which is Dixo, that meeting's been canceled for 5 months, so is that in place also? So is it safe to say that on each side of Route 17, right across each other, we're gonna have billboards put up?
I don't know anything about those applications, I can just tell you what we did do an ordinance, so.
If their application was submitted before the ordinance was passed.
Well, that's what I was trying to find out, because 158.
I don't know when
Since
it's 158.
since August, it's been canceled, and every month I've gone, it's been canceled, and again, last
then it
week, it
would
was
be.
canceled again till February.
Well, then it would be, when it was done before.
It just seems like it's crazy, can't get nothing, they take an answer, everybody.
Predates, right?
Yes.
So it's back, okay?
Yeah.
They haven't withdrawn it, right?
No, yeah, I don't know.
No, they're gonna talk about both of them again on February 6th, I believe, now it's gonna come up again. But at least we were notified months ago about Dixo, 158, but 141, you got a letter a week before,
Yeah.
the meeting, and the thing was already, it's going up.
Yeah, any new ones coming in should be addressed, and we're also, Joe's working on some stuff to add to it, well, I think next month we have it on.
Yeah.
Are there height restrictions on
Yeah,
it?
no, we're gonna, yeah, there are now, but we're gonna try to reduce
What would that
that.
be, you know, anybody know, approximate?
I don't recall offhand. Well, that's one of the things the planning board suggested we look at and maybe change, and we're gonna do that.
Okay, and as far as 120, I'm gonna make a comment. Do any of you here actually think that the developer bought that property and had it come to you and he'd make money? And that's ridiculous. This guy had this figured out. I've done work with them for years. They know how to make money. We shouldn't be supplementing them, making more money. He's not gonna lose a dime on his property with a pilot program all down. So the judge said to consider it. Didn't have to be done. I hope you consider it. A lot of people here are not happy. A lot of people who come here are unhappy. And should really think twice about this program. Thank you.
Have a motion to close? Mine, you know better, Michael.
Hello, everyone. This should be painless. I won't shout at anyone. I'm Michael Warren. My address is 181 West Oldham Street. I just had a couple comments and some questions. In reference to the resident on Crescent about the curbs and the ponding, last year I did ask the members of the township committee, that were colleagues of mine at the time, to purchase a study plan from Boswell. It was $25,000 to begin to address those areas of ponding. I know budget time is coming up. I think it's important to get the study done to begin to address those ponding issues. The gentleman here is a neighbor of mine. He has a giant lake in front of his property. And I know the woman from Crescent was here earlier. So it was brought up last year. I hope you guys look at it again. There is a study that Boswell will do so you can begin to address those streets when it comes time to do the street programs, I guess, in time. My next question was about the civic committee. I'm on it. We met Monday. It was very productive. Is there a liaison? Do we have one for that committee to communicate with the government through? So.
I have an appointed one.
Okay, well, our next meeting is in February, and we have a rip-roaring group who's ready to beautify. So if we can get a liaison, that'd be helpful. Otherwise, Mr. Davidson will probably come to you Friday for some questions. Yes.
Michael, it's gonna be me.
Okay, perfect. That's great.
When's your next meeting?
The next one is, it's on the township calendar, actually. It's the third Monday of the month. Yeah.
I think I have it on the calendar.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. I have a question for Mr. Rotolo, if I'm allowed to ask him. I know tonight you guys settled a lawsuit or a potential lawsuit with 120. And back in November.
No.
With the company or no?
No, the settlement of litigation was just the tenant upstairs who had.
Gotcha, okay, so 120 was, there was no litigation?
No, there was nothing going on tonight.
So, part of the reason why I'm asking is because back in November, there was a town-wide flyer that was mailed to people that made a claim that actions that I took on the township committee directly were responsible for a 2017 lawsuit with 120. That flyer has affected my relationships on a personal level in town, and now it has gotten to the hands of my employer. And as a public employee, they question, what was on the flyer. I explained the flyer was political in nature. But at this point, is there something I can get in writing from Mr. Rotolo that would state that I did not have anything to do with any lawsuit or litigation with the property at 120?
There was certainly nothing you or any other individual did that caused any lawsuit or responsible for anything, so.
Okay.
It was just a challenge. I know,
Right, but if the people.
You might have been named in it,
Yeah.
because everybody was named.
Right, that's my point, is the flyer claimed myself as the sole responsible party for that. So if there's something I can get from you, Mr. Rotolo, that just says that I'm not the sole responsible person for that, that would be helpful, personally and professionally. I would appreciate that. And finally, I was hoping we would get a TANF report tonight. Do we have anyone from the TANF group here to do a report?
Roy, you prepared?
What? For TANF? Yeah. If that's, that's okay with you guys, so. Thank you very much. Have a good night. I appreciate you listening. Thank you. Okay.
I'm Dave Jacobs, represent Rosemont Park Mechanic. I attended a meeting on the 8th of the month with the EPA. This is proposed to have paper back in my hands by March. They're still going to go through the checkout of flying the airplanes down. Our impact doesn't look like we're going to get hit. Well, not even, basically just the other side a little bit. I requested at the meeting with the FAA to be on all the boards for us. They approved it. Also, I just requested this morning because I had an argument Wednesday night with Hackensack's deputy mayor stating that planes were riding down Prospect, lower than the high rises, zigzagging, going over the hospital. Two, she stated to me that we ought to state making a offer to pilots to use a different runway and pay them an incentive to do it. I started saying to the board, and then I was told to shut up by the manager. I walked out of there, got a hold of Dave. This morning, I called the head guy over in Teterboro, I walked in and told them I quit. I'm not gonna sit there and listen to her crap and anybody else's crap. My town has to remain safety upstairs, and I don't care what she says. Before I could walk out the door, they sat me down. There's a meeting coming up next week with everybody. They told me to shut up, the manager and whatnot. The FAA was informed. They told me not to quit. Dressel, your man, told me not to quit. So I gave an ultimatum today. Okay? They got 36 hours to put everybody in a room with me and end this thing. We either gotta say so there or I walk over. I can't sit there and watch this stuff happen. So I sat down with this guy today and he agreed to everything, and he also agreed to something, that Dave and I will be on the seat with this study 150, which involves this whole area. And after the meeting up in Marwa, they asked Dave and I to sit with the FAA and give our impact and what we think, and my experience since '87, flying and being with all this. We agreed to it, Dave and I. I told them after the 36 hours, if they don't come back with everybody in the room, and we don't walk out of there, I quit. I walk away. So they told me, we will straighten that out. So I said, okay. This meeting coming up now with this proposal here, they're gonna turn right after Central Avenue. I'm now Route 17. I'm trying to get the heights now so I can report to all you people. We are gonna do something, Dave and I brought it up with this head kingpin today. I'm gonna get a noise monitor to go into that thing on Parkway where they do the rehabilitation and everything. As these planes start coming down for the first pass, we are gonna be there with the machine to get a visual check and make sure that the EPA, which I had to do with years ago, and the lady was right, they ain't too good with the DEP. So we will get a reading, and it should match the 74 pages I was handed this morning from the kingpin to look at. Okay? And after a year and a half, I finally got the readings, which I asked Hackensack for a year and a half ago on all the buildings on Prospect height. So I can be in an airplane, a jet, which I'm trying to propose now with one of the companies over there, to put Dave and I in a jet, to fly this thing, so we can physically see if it matches what they gave me. They seem to have liked the idea, okay? Because I can't believe what's being told to me, okay? But Hackensack doesn't care about us. The people have rented these high rises. They don't want the planes around them. They send it around everybody else. I tried to get Maywood to talk with us, but they won't talk. So I just move on. I was requested to walk to Woodcliff Lake. They told the state with these high rises and everything, apartments, they do it. I don't know how they made out. That's just what they thought. But he asked me to go up there and report what I tell you people in their town. I tell them my town knows the airplanes that are coming out is a sequence. And I was just authorized, I'm waiting for the FAA guy from up from Georgia to take me to Newark Airport and spend several hours up in the tower. I was up in this tower, and I'll be up in that tower watching the operation for several hours to prove that the people are watching what they're doing up there. I can stand here and tell you we're in a safe spot with Tracon. If any one of you or anybody in the audience got a problem, just got to call my house. Within seconds, I can track an airplane that you said just come over your house. I can tell you what height, what speed, and the decimal count of that aircraft. I had a lady tell me about a helicopter back there, right? She didn't like it, 35 minutes, right? I called, stop. Right, they didn't even know it was there. Okay, because they sent it over there to do a traffic thing. So I told them, with this plaza, with the traffic and everything, you can't do it. And two, you're aware they're gonna build a high-rise over there, luxury high-rise in the plaza, they're looking at it? Which J.C. Penney was in the back. They're gonna put the hospital up there in Paramus, right? Another headache. I told, it started with it now.
Well, we're happy to represent.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm trying to, reading one thing say here, that no other town do. No other town has this. But you people, like you people, asking somebody to come up. They get this stuff in the mail, nobody does nothing. And the other night, when the crap hit the fan with me with Hackensack, you know how many towns were sitting there? Me. Hesper County, and Hackensack. Nobody else showed up. Okay? Nobody cares.
Thank you, sir.
What I told them, don't shut me up. But, you know, I'll continue to do it because I respect all the people in this town. And you people, you know?
Thanks for the, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good night.
Mayor, I just want to say something. Mr. Warren asked for a report on TANAC, and he spent a good portion of the report not paying attention. He was talking with other people in the audience. I take personal offense to that. Mr. Leister is a volunteer of this town. The report that you requested was given, and then you didn't pay attention to it, so.
Well, that's really I guess that's your opinion about my attention given to the report, but I don't think Mr. Leister is gonna be asked to give his report tonight. So that's why I asked to have it, so.
And then you didn't pay attention to it.
That's your opinion.
I take a personal offense, and I think a number of people around you would agree with what I'm stating.
I think you're talking to a private citizen and you're being very rude.
All right, can I have a motion to come out of public portion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Can I have a motion to close, please? Second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?